This one. Okay, there we go. We got audio there. And now I'm gonna get this one going, the other one. Hold on. Properties. This one. Where are you? Here we go. Okay, can you speak for me?
Hi.
Hi. Okay, yeah, awesome. Um, you were clipping, but that's good. Can you clip? Can you clip again for me? Can you speak again a little bit more for me?
Hello, hello.
Okay, that's good. That's good enough. We're about the same volume. Hi guys, thank you. Sorry about that. None of the audio was set up, so but we're live. We made it, and thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for allowing us to take our time getting here. Sorry for the delay, but we are happy to be here now. At least I am. I'm happy to be here. Haley, are you happy to be here?
I am very happy to be here.
Okay, so from now on, I can just speak on behalf of both of us because apparently I'm right. We both like
Yep.
ice cream. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty good at this. Um, great. Well, yeah, I'll just speak for you then. You can do whatever you want. You can say as much as you want, but I already know apparently all that I need to know.
If you're speaking for me, does that mean I can speak for you?
Hmm. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you can do that. Um, that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, you wanna start the show off for us? You wanna do the host position for a little bit? Tell everybody the
Sure.
do's and
I
don'ts.
can.
Tell everybody what we are and
Yep.
what we're doing.
Yes. Hi everyone. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is a show where you can come and talk about your worries
Right.
and concerns and just your life in general, and you can ask for advice. And we are happy to listen and give advice to our best abilities. Just a disclaimer: we are not professionals, and we are not pretending to be professionals. So this is not replacement for professional help, but we encourage all of you to put any of your worries in the chat if you have them, and we're happy to give them a shot. And you're also welcome to engage in the chat with the other topics and give advice that way.
That was perfect. Beautiful. Even better than when I say it. So, I think I like the like you take my mind and you add better stuff on top. It's like adding salt to food. So just keep it up. I mean, just that's awesome. That was great. Um,
Thank you.
Perfect. With that said, how are you doing today, Haley? How is everybody in the chat doing as well?
I'm doing well. Work was good today.
Oh
How are
yeah,
you doing?
doing great, thank you. What did you do at work that was particularly fun or great or
Um,
eventful?
well, I've been learning a new skill recently.
Okay.
Um, we have some new experiments we want to do. So we're going to be doing something called chemotaxis. Basically, you plate cells, and then you'll have like two different liquids, and then you see how the liquid affects the cell movement.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and so you like it lets you see if cells are attracted to like a certain thing. Um, and so I've been learning how to set that up. It's
Hmm.
very painful, and I think whoever designed the slide that you put everything in might have been slightly sadistic.
Oh, do you keep on getting cut on the slides or something?
No, so the slides themselves don't hurt me, but you have to be really careful because the way it's designed is there's like three chambers. There's a middle chamber where the cells go, and then there's two side chambers, and they're all like connected but separate. So like liquid can flow freely between them, but you don't want liquid to flow freely between them until like the end when a gradient will establish itself.
Okay.
So you have to be really careful when you're putting stuff into the different wells to not have it squirt into any of the other chambers.
Hmm. Okay. I see.
Mhm.
Just put the containers farther away from each other.
You know, I
Make
wish,
work
I
harder on
wish,
yourself. Why don't you think of that? No.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, yeah, it's not. I understand. Yep, that's how things
It
go.
is, yep, they are very much stuck together.
Hmm. I see.
I can send you a picture of it.
Oh, fit. Go ahead. Um, yeah, how's everybody in the chat? What are you guys up to today? Did you do anything fun? Did you do anything interesting? Um, or if not, then what did you do that was boring? I, it's still interesting to know. And sorry about the chat looking weird. I don't know why it looks like that. Literally didn't change any settings since the last time I hosted. And what I'm just happy that the chats worked because the last like I don't know, the last like I'm gonna say 7 times, maybe more times I've hosted, certain chats worked and other ones didn't. Like on this screen that we're currently on, the chat wasn't working last time. But the starting screen, it was working for that one, even though it's the exact same setup. And on another screen, it wasn't working. And then like 2 times ago, it was like a different thing. It was a different combination of which ones worked and which ones didn't. This time, all of them are working, but they look funny. And I'm happy with that. I'm just like, at least they're there. So, sorry that they're not as pretty as normal, but at least we got something. You did a drawing and ran in circles. Yeah, I was there for that. You did awesome drawing. I loved it. It was beautiful. And running in circles is understandable. It happens. And you're doing great, sweetheart. I love you. I love you all, chat. What did you draw, Nyan? That's right. Drew a player character for our game. That's right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we're making a little game together. Well, I say little, but it's actually massive, so it's quite daunting, but we're getting into it. And
the game?
Hmm?
What is the game?
It doesn't have a name yet.
Is it a secret?
I could talk about it, but I think it's not far enough in development to make any solid claims yet. And I'll just say that. Coming out and it'll come out in 2024. No, I think you meant to say it come out in 2034. There it is. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like right. Bethesda, where Bethesda's like, we're working on a game, and then you don't ever see the game for like 20 years.
Yeah, and then by the time you see it, it's like, oh, that's right. You had said something about doing that 10 years ago.
Yeah, like when I don't even remember when it was that they teased like Elder Scrolls number 6.
Oh, wow.
And now,
okay.
You know, there's still no word of Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah. Yeah, Elder Scrolls is a big series, though. Yeah. Wow. So they on Elder Scrolls 5 right now, and is that the one that's online and whatever? Or do you not know?
Yeah, so Elder Scrolls 5, yeah, that's Skyrim. There is like online, so there's the Elder Scrolls Online, and then there's just like straight Skyrim.
Okay, so there's a difference between. Yeah. So Elder Scrolls Online doesn't count as Elder Scrolls 6, even though it would technically count as that if it was if it was ordered.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's just because like Elder Scrolls Online is kind of like different. Like all the other Elder Scrolls games are like single player offline.
Yeah, and so there's a whole world you can kind of interact with and change and mess with. Yeah, but online you can't do that kind of stuff because you're ruining the game for other players. If you could do that, yeah. You
can't mod the code that's barely held together and then break the entire game with your mod.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. As fun as that is for one person, it's not a good idea. Yeah. And yeah, everybody needs to know about it. It's going to be amazing. That's true. It's going to be amazing and spectacular and beautiful and great. It's going to be a great time. It's just too early in development to even begin to say any salads, but I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it. So
yeah, anyways, it's really exciting.
Yeah. Without further distraction, whatever. How about we get into some topics? Does that sound good?
That works for me.
Okay, awesome. Well, we've got, luckily, Mianglio's coming in to save the day. We've got lots of topics now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 from Mianglio's and 1 from Wifey, whoever that is. I think I know who that is. And 1 from Nihilus, who said to not really worry about his, so we're probably just not going to worry about it.
Nihilus?
Yeah, you know Nihilus. I haven't
seen him in ages.
Yeah, I know. He's great, though. Yeah. So I'm just going to start with one of these. Mianglios, if you're here, which one of these topics that you gave us is the most anticipated? The one that you would like done the most? Or the one that you would like to hear from Haley the most, since next time it's going to be Joe, and it will probably be Joe for a while after that, because um, Joe is, I mean, we might still do we might do a three-way call thing, but Joe's no longer going to be preoccupied every other week, starting next week, if I remember correctly.
Are his kids starting school?
I think so. Something like that.
Makes sense.
Mianglios is here. Yeah. Do you have a specific topic in mind that you think would be either most urgent or the one that you'd like Haley to cover while she's here? That'd be great. If you don't, then we'll just pick one at random.
Mhm.
Pick any. Okay. I picked this one. This one is how to get lots done, is what I've titled it. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this and paste it over to you so you can read it and have it for reference. Oh, you sent me the thing. Wow. Yeah, those are too close together. That's the problem. Yeah, I get. That looks neat, though. It does look neat. All right, so there's the topic. I'm gonna go ahead and post it here and press a few buttons over here and get the topic on the screen. There you guys go. And I'm gonna go ahead and read this. This is from Mianglios. It reads as the following. I didn't get done a lot of the things I wanted to I didn't get done a lot of the things I wanted to over the summer. How do you organize your time and find motivation so you can get stuff done when you have lots of time? From Mianglios. Thank you for this topic. This is I think this is a great topic. You had the whole summer and it felt like you didn't get stuff done, and then you're wondering what went wrong. Why didn't I get stuff done? I had all the time in the world and I couldn't motivate myself to do the stuff that I wanted to do or organize myself to do them. Or maybe you're asking next time you find the time, I guess you're asking this anyways. Next time you do have time, how do you get stuff done? It's a good question, really good question. And so hopefully we can give you a sufficient answer, an answer that empowers you and encourages you, and also helps you get the things done that you wanted to get done. Life is full of time and things to do, and they're always fighting each other because it oftentimes feels like we don't have enough time when we have things to do. And then it feels like we don't have anything to do when we have all the time in the world and we're bored. Or sometimes we just lack the motivation. So this is a good topic, and I'm just going to get out of the way and hear what Haley has to say.
Yeah. So I also think this is a really good topic. I think a lot of us can relate to this, and a lot of us probably struggle with this too. Time management is a hard skill. Motivation can be really hard to come by. As a college student, I definitely know how hard motivation can be sometimes. But I think one thing that can help a lot is if you sit down and think about priorities. So, you have a list of things you want to do, right? Maybe some of them are things you have to do. Maybe some of them are just like hobbies that you want to like work on over the summer. And what you can do is you can think about it. You can even like make a physical list if that works better for you. And you can just write like which things are like highest priority and which things are lowest priority. And so that can first of all help you organize your time, because sometimes I think what happens is if we have too many things that we want to do, even if we have a lot of time, it starts to feel overwhelming and feel like we don't have the time to do any of them. And then what that results in doing is sometimes we just get too paralyzed thinking about how we're supposed to split our time and we don't end up doing anything. So if you instead are able to prioritize things, then that can help you better understand where to like delegate time to. Another thing you could do is you could like make a plan if that works for you. Some people don't like making plans. They like to just live spontaneously. That's great too. But if you like to have a plan, then it could help. You could be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to play piano from like 12 to 2 or something like that. Or you could even just be like, tomorrow I'm going to work on this skill. Um, I want to work on it, so I'm going to do that tomorrow. And that can help a lot too, to just like kind of keep in mind like what you want to work on and like start coming up with ideas of when you might work on it. Um, Another thing that can help sometimes is like, I think a lot of times we start running out of time because we get distracted with little things like maybe you're just scrolling on your phone or something, looking through social media, and that can be a really big time drainer. You know,
Hmm.
I definitely sometimes spend too much time scrolling through Instagram reels. I just lose track of time. Um, so then, sometimes when you're just scrolling, you could try to think, you know, I'm spending all this time on social media, but what if I go and work on this other thing instead? And then, you can decide, do you want to keep scrolling through your phone, or would you rather go work on that other thing that you've been wanting to do? Um, so, those are some ways you can help organize your time and like better manage the time. As for motivation, motivation can be really hard. I think it is easier to find motivation when it's things that you're wanting to do versus things you have to do. I
Mm.
know things are sometimes when it's something I have to do, I'm like, I don't want to do it. And then it's just like you're full of dread because you know you have to do it, but you don't want to. When it's something you want to do, I think it's a little bit easier to find the motivation. And obviously, motivation can be fickle, and you won't always have the motivation, even if it is something that you enjoy. Like, I don't practice piano as much as I want to. I enjoy piano, and every time I actually sit down and practice, I always enjoy it, but it's hard to like make myself actually start doing the task. Um, but so part of that can come down to self-control, where you just have to be like, you know what? I know that I'm not feeling very motivated right now, but I'm gonna make myself sit down and work on this. And you can even just be like, I'm gonna work on this for like 10 minutes. And if I still don't feel motivated to do it after 10 minutes, then I can go do something else. Because sometimes you won't have the motivation, but once you start working on it, then the motivation will come to
Hmm.
you. Um, I've definitely felt that before. Even with like things that I'm dreading, like homework, I'll be
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do my homework, but once I actually start doing the assignment, then it's not so bad, and I'll actually start finding the motivation to work on it. And
Hmm.
then it'll get to be where I don't want to stop working on my homework. I want to just like keep doing it.
Mm.
Um, so I think that can be a good way to find the motivation. And then also just like in terms of, like since a lot of this sounds like it's things that you just want to do, not necessarily have to do. I think just listening to your feelings each day, because some days you might feel more motivated for one thing versus another. Um, you know, you can just when you wake up think, what do I want to do today? And maybe you'll feel really motivated um, to draw a picture or something. And if that's how you're feeling, then that's great. And ultimately, I think doing what makes you happy is a great way to motivate yourself. We all want to be happy. At least I think we all want to be happy. I'd be a little surprised if we didn't want to be happy. Um, you know, I know I want to be happy. I'm sure Ryan wants to be happy.
Hmm. Preferred.
Um, yeah. So sometimes just doing the things that makes you happy is good enough. And even if you aren't able to accomplish everything that you wanted to accomplish, as long as you're enjoying yourself and just making the most with what you can, that's good enough. Sometimes we put pressure on ourselves, like we have to do all these amazing things and we have to be super productive and we have to be using every second of our day to do something. But that's not always the case, you know? So, if you lose time doing something that's making you happy, that's okay. I think if you're happy, that's good enough. And, doing stuff that makes you happy can be a good motivation. Um, One other way you could potentially work to find motivation is you can tell people around you what it is that you're wanting to get done, and they can kind of help motivate you too and encourage you to work on it. Like, let's say you spend a lot of time with friends or family. You can be like, okay, today I really want to work on this thing at some point. So I want you to help me hold myself accountable so that I actually work on that. And then, throughout the day, your family or friends can be like, hey, did you do this thing? Or, maybe they'll be like, I want to do it with you. And then doing it with someone can be a great way to
Mm.
have motivation too.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just fun to have company.
Yep.
But yeah, so those are my thoughts. Did you have thoughts to add, Ryan?
That was great. I don't know what I can follow up with. I'm going to attempt to follow up something. I have some thoughts, but you did a wonderful job. I think you covered all of the bases. So, yeah, that was great. I think, yeah, taking advantage of whatever you feel like doing at the moment that's useful and progressive, helps progress you forward, is useful. I think that's a great way to do stuff. But it's not always going to be the case where that's the best thing to do, and it's not always the case that you want to do anything at all. So I think what Nyanse, sorry, what Super Nyan Blue said was quite useful. So obviously, Young Leos, you're in the chat. You can read the messages there, but I think a lot of good information there as well. I think here's the thing. When you can't find the motivation to do the things that are on your list of stuff you want, revisit the stuff you want to do, like why you want to do it. Like why do you want to do these things, right? What's your intention behind these things? And read more into that. I think it's important to know that, I think it's great that you spent time doing nothing, essentially. What felt like, you had all these things that you could do, but you didn't get any of them done. I think that's fine. And I think that's a good thing to some degree. In the sense that it's important to recognize, as Supernan Blue said, that getting things done isn't the epitome of life. It isn't the thing that matters most. You should be the ideal is you can be proud of yourself enough to be happy, even without having gotten things done. My point of saying that is you don't want to be in the position where you're only happy if you get things done. Because epitome, epitome. Isn't that weird? The word has two different ways of being said. Anyways, if you put yourself in a position where you think that the value of yourself is based on the things you've done or the activities you've done or the things you've achieved, you not only will you'll never be satisfied, which is okay, but you'll very likely always be dissatisfied with yourself. And it's not a good basis to measure other people on. So it's not fair to measure yourself that way either. So it's important to just be like, you know what, I got nothing done, and be okay with that, and be fine, and be happy. I recognize that doing stuff is great, and it is a good thing to do stuff. Especially, it's a good thing to do good things. But it's also good to just be. It's also good to just be good, right? As people have said before, you're a human being, not a human doing. So don't get too caught up in the mentality that you have to be doing things in order to be valuable, right? Aside from that, outside of that, because that's not really the topic of this, you're asking more about how you actually get stuff done, which is fine. I just wanted to, touch on that for a second. Back onto the topic of how to get stuff done, how to get yourself motivated. Again, revisit the reasons you wanted to do the things in the first place. And then plan them out. Like, is it to learn a specific skill for the future? That's great. Start planning it out. I think Haley said a great thing, get a list together. I think that helps me. Even if I don't follow the list, just writing the list is a big deal. Because writing the list puts it into, like, I actually took a moment to plan some things and figure it out. Now, I can refer to it whenever I want. I don't need to, but sometimes I do. But my point is, it gets me moving. So then the next day when I'm like, okay, today's the first day, I can look, what's the first thing on my list? And be like, okay, yep. So that's my top priority, or these are my top priorities. I'm going to pick one and I'm going to go for it, right? And then you do that, and then you start progressing in that line. Don't expect anything to take any specific amount of time. Because if you're working on anything that's going to take, like if you're building anything, you're creating anything, if you're building a talent, don't expect any of it to be like, I'll finish this task by this amount of time. Because chances are you're going to be wrong. And if you're wrong about how long it takes to finish in either direction, whether it be you finished beforehand or you finished after, it puts holes in your schedule and your plan. And if that's not helpful, then maybe that's fine. Maybe you're okay with that. But I think if you do certain things for a certain amount of time a day, that's totally fine. It's like, I work on this for 15 minutes a day. Great. Don't be like, I expect to have this talent mastered in 15 weeks. It's like, you can't do that to yourself. You know, don't put timers. I think that's really demotivating a lot of times, because most of the time we get it wrong. And the way we get it wrong is that we aren't even close to how long we think, like how long we think it will take to get a task done isn't even close to how long it actually takes, especially if we don't have any experience doing those things before. So if you want to get stuff done, do this stuff, but like do them one at a time, or put them in your schedule such that you do each one individually, but don't psych yourself out. And don't go into it expecting to have to put your all into one thing at a time. That's what I'd say. So then how do you get the motivation? It's like, that's hard. Again, revisit the things that you've done, or revisit the reasons you've done. Wow. Revisit the reasons you wanted to start doing it in the first place. That should be a motivator. If it's not, think about, maybe it's not something you should do. Maybe it's not something that's important to you. You know, some things are negative motivators. Some people do this. And I would say lay into your personality type if you kind of have this figured out a little bit. And what I mean by that is, some people are motivated by running from a negative. And you can use that to your advantage. Like, if I don't get my stuff together in the next 3 weeks, I am going broke and I'm going to be homeless, and that's going to be a terrible time. So I'm going to get myself moving. And then that puts a fire under their butt and they go. So some people like the fire under their butt method. That's how they get stuff done. If that's you, don't be afraid to put a fire under your butt. You could put a fire under your own butt. It's not a big deal. I've seen really successful people do that. It's what gets them motivated to take action. Now, maybe you're not a negative reinforcement kind of person. Maybe you are you find yourself most motivated in life if you have a short-term reward, right? And so you're like, you know what? I can get myself to do anything as long as there's like candies that I get to eat after I complete each task. If that's you, do that. If you're a person that's like, I get moving when I think about the future, and I think about where I could be in like a couple of years and how I can achieve that and how cool like it would be to be there, etc. Right? Is that what gets you motivated? Pour more time into that. Take out time out of your schedule. Like you need to put time in your schedule for motivation building. If you're not motivated already, it's important to take time to motivate yourself. And it might be that you're working with somebody else on some of these things. And you can take time to talk about it with them and game plan, and then be creative with some solutions and like get excited about it again and then go for it. If it's just yourself, then enter into that dialogue with yourself. Get into that dialogue with yourself and be like, get creative with your solutions, create new ideas, and get excited. That's a process that I think you have to do. You have to be willing to do if you want to be motivated. Last option is don't be motivated. Just don't be motivated. Do it. I've said many times, motivation can be a bad thing. Because if you rely on motivation, to do anything, you're putting the cart in front of the horse, right? Because motivation is simply an emotional reaction. It is nothing more. It is an emotional reaction, whether it be to something in your environment or something you created in your head, an idea, a desire, whatever it is, right? It is an emotional reaction. That's what motivation is. And so when you realize that, you recognize you need a thing to happen first for you to be motivated to do a thing. And if you're sitting there waiting around to be motivated by the world around you, chances are it's not going to happen. Or it can't, chances are it will happen, but not not on a good time frame. If you are waiting to be motivated to take action, it can be the case that you're putting the cart in front of the horse. Maybe you don't need to learn the skill of how to self-motivate. More so, you need to learn the skill of working without motivation. Additionally, I think there's also needs to be said, there is a skill, I don't know what to call it other than patience. Because patience is, this is something that I was talking with Neon Blue about recently, and it was kind of popped into my head that this is an interesting thing about the world we live in and who we are. But patience, what is patience? It's being willing to sit peacefully and content and happy when you're waiting for things that you want to be different to change. Like, that's not a perfect description, but like, if you want something around you to be different, how do you feel when you are experiencing that? It's like, I want this to be different than it is right now. It's like, for most people, that's a time thing. That's what patience usually has to do with time. Like, you have to wait for somebody else. Like, you're like, I want to hop in the car and get going because I'm going to be late for my event. But here I am waiting for this person. It's like, patience, be patient. What's that mean? It's like, well, calm yourself. Don't be distraught. Don't get emotionally worked up because the things around you aren't going according to your plan, right? What you want from the world isn't happening right away. And so you're getting impatient. Okay. So I bring this up because sometimes you're not motivated to do things and you're waiting to be motivated. So if that means things aren't the way you wanted them to be, how do you deal with things that aren't the way you wanted them to be? Maybe you're like, I don't want, like, you're like, I have all the time today to do stuff. I don't really want to organize. Or I have all the time to do stuff, but I just don't feel like doing any of it. Like, that's great. So the person that's messing you up is yourself. Are you patient with them? Are you willing to work with them and just be like, let's just do this. Let's just do this thing. And even though you might feel like it's not your way, it's not your time to do it, you just aren't motivated enough. Dealing with yourself requires patience. Because a lot of times you're the one that's not fast enough or doing things the way you want them to be done. Like, you're the one that's not smart enough to accomplish the things that you want. You're the one that's not skilled enough yet to accomplish the things you want in this specific area. You're the one that's holding yourself up. And it's not because you're choosing to, it's just like literally you aren't developing as fast as you want to be developing as a person. Because you want to be at point B, but you're still stuck at point A. It's like, that's normal. That's what everybody experiences. So my point is, be patient with yourself. So if you're like looking at an object and you're like, I want to do that. I want to be good at that. I have all this time that I can do something with, and I want to do good things with it. I want to look on the past and be like, I did good things with my time. But in reality, you're like, well, I didn't, because I got in the way, or I just didn't do the things, and so you look at yourself and you're just like, I'm incompatible with my ideal. It's like, great. Just like everybody else. That's good. That's good. to recognize that. And then just be patient with yourself. Be like, be at peace and be happy and satisfied that you're not always on point. When you're not on point, don't beat yourself up, because that's not going to motivate you to do better and be better. That's just going to train yourself to beat yourself up. My point of saying all of this is, when it comes to getting things done, a lot of it can be that you've demotivated yourself. You have a hard time working with yourself because you aren't good at dealing with your lackings. It could be that you think it's too hard for yourself to learn, or it just takes too much time for yourself to learn, so you give up. And it's like, you don't trust yourself because you know you're not as good as you want to be able to do some of these things. And my response to that is, that's okay. Be patient with yourself. You'll figure it out. You'll get there. Don't expect to get there instantly. You expect yourself to get there with a great amount of time, and then you give yourself the time. You say, I don't know how long it's going to take for you to get there, but just keep working on it. You'll get there. I know that much. And then you begin working, right? And that's the line you got to tell yourself. Just say, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get there, but I know I'll get there if I keep on working at it. Don't know what time frame that is. Don't know. But I'm just going to choose to be happy and satisfied with the fact that I'm putting in work. I'm getting myself to move, and then just start moving and live that. And then you don't have to beat yourself up when you're not as good as you want it to be. Things aren't going as fast as you wanted them to go. You just have to sit there and be like, you know what? I know I'll get there if I don't stop moving. And then you don't stop moving. And sometimes things get frustrating, and it's not because you're frustrated with yourself. It can be like literally everything else is against you, and that's fine. But have patience. Have patience with the world around you. Have patience with yourself. Be at peace. I don't know how to say it better than that. But my point is, don't let your emotions dictate how well you're going to perform or what you're going to choose that you're capable of doing. You know? Because they're all just reactions, but they aren't completely they are not what creates reality. They are a reaction to a perception of reality. That's what we'll say. And so you create reality by doing, not by feeling. So just go and do. Focus on that. But there's nothing wrong with feelings. Good. And they give us information, and that's important information. But yeah, sometimes you just have to stick with it and be patient with yourself and be patient with the world around you that you're trying to navigate. But that's what I got.
Thank you,
Anything
Ryan.
you want to add to that,
I thought
Haley?
that was really good. I just had a couple more thoughts based on things you said. So for when you were talking about, like, think about how you feel when you want something around you to change. But if there is something you want to change, rather than just waiting around for it to change or hoping it'll change, it's always better to step up and try to make things change, because you can want something to change. Maybe you want things to be different in your life, but just wanting it's never going to be enough for things to actually change. You have to actually initiate that change if you want it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, good point.
Yeah, so sometimes you may not be feeling super motivated. Maybe you're like, gee, I really wish that my room was cleaner. You may not particularly want to clean your room. But if you just keep thinking you wish it was cleaner but never act on that,
Yeah.
then it's never going to actually get cleaner. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that it's up to you to initiate the change. Just as you were saying, you have to do to make things reality. Um, and then another thing I was wanting to mention is sometimes you just have to celebrate the little victories, you know? Maybe you didn't do as much as you wanted to that day, but even if you just accomplished a little bit, you know, celebrate it. Tell yourself you did great and that at least you did that thing that you did. You know, even if it's just getting out of bed, maybe you got out of bed and like ate breakfast or something, you can be proud of yourself for that. And I find that when you celebrate the little victories, it helps you be more at peace with yourself, first of all, because, you know, instead of beating yourself up and being like, why didn't I do all these things today?
Mm.
Like, I just wasted my whole day away. You can instead take things with a more positive approach and be like, look how good I was. I managed to get up at a good time today, or
Mm,
things
mm,
like that.
mm. Yep.
Um, and that can actually serve to motivate yourself because if you're just like constantly beating yourself up and telling yourself that you weren't good enough, it's going to actually ruin your motivation more, I find.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just going to start making you feel like you're never enough and that it's just never going to be good enough. And that can lead to things like, why should I even try? Like, it's not good enough. And then also, if you're so used to beating yourself down, even when you do accomplish a lot, you'll still end up feeling like it wasn't enough, um, which shouldn't be how it is. You know, even if you've accomplished like five different things that you wanted to, if that's not enough, then when is it ever enough? So I think instead of taking a negative approach, like you weren't able to achieve everything you wanted to, instead celebrating what you did do helps a lot, and can serve to motivate you because then you know you can look forward to the next day and be like, I wonder what I'll accomplish today. Um, and then you know some days you might accomplish more than others. You know, motivation can be fickle. Um, and as you said, you shouldn't really rely on the feelings to act, but obviously they can help. So, you know, you can
Yeah,
still do stuff
absolutely.
without the feelings, but, you know, maybe there's days when you'll feel really motivated and you'll get even more done, and that's okay too. But, you know, each day you can end with a positive outlook and be like, you know, I was able to do this, and that's good enough, and I am good enough. And I think that helps a lot. Um, So I think those are really good things to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's an app that one of my friends introduced me to. It's called Finch, and it's kind of similar to like a self-care Tamagotchi. So like you get to set goals, and
Hmm.
then as you like achieve goals, then it'll like take care of your pet bird.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Got it.
and
That's
um,
I do this or my pet bird's gonna die. That's funny,
um,
but yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, and so then once you like get so like you'll like get energy as you mark off goals, and then it'll like send your bird on adventures, and then your bird will
Oh.
like come back and tell you about their adventures and the things they've like learned.
Oh.
Um, and so you know, obviously it doesn't work for everyone, but that can also be a good way, you know, if that kind of thing works for you to find motivation where you can be like, look, I'm taking care of my pet. Um,
Yeah.
and then also, it could just feel really nice to like hit the check mark and be like, I did this today. And then, you know, if you accomplish all your goals at the end of the day, then it's just really satisfying to like see like all done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then even if you don't, it'll like when you mark a goal complete, it's like good job, and it like will praise you. Um, so it's just kind of nice. Um,
Yeah.
so you know, just a little plug for an app if that kind of thing works for you. But
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, there's some fun apps out there. I've tried a couple. They don't work for me. But that doesn't mean they don't work for other people. I know a lot of other people who enjoy them and they find them to be useful. Um, but I don't know. Everybody's different, and that's part of the joy of life. Part of the joy of living your own life and figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. So be happy about that journey and how that's gonna carry out, and what you learn motivates you, what you learn doesn't motivate you. But I don't expect you. No one ever fully figures themselves out, nor anybody else. But yeah, I think it's important to sort of figure that out and play it and play with it. I think test it is worth doing. You know, should I get this app? Yeah, try it out just to see if you can learn whether it's useful or not. Is still useful. But yeah, that's a great idea, Haley. Yeah, definitely not sports. Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I'm a weird person in the same boat as Neon Blue. Rewards don't usually I don't know. It's like, oh man, I can't, you know, it's kind of interesting. I think about something like this. For me, what motivates me a lot of times isn't the reward, and it isn't the negative or the punishment. It's like if I'm playing a game, it's the curiosity that compels me forward. And also if I'm enjoying the elements of just proceeding forward. If it's a fun thing to do, I'm going to do it and proceed forward. It doesn't necessarily have to be rewarding to want to move forward. So it's an interesting prospect to think about. You know, I learned how to play the piano, not because I was concerned about wanting to learn or be able to play the piano. I learned to play the piano because I sat down and it was something to do that I enjoyed. That was it, you know? And so sometimes just working, your brain is an incredible machine. And if you can tell it, and if you can genuinely tell it and get it to believe that an activity is fun and enjoyable to do, it will do that. You'll be motivated to do it and just do it regardless of the reward or punishment or whatever. You're going to be like, yeah, you know, I like this activity, so I'm doing it, you know, because you've trained your brain to believe that the activity is fun. Now, how easy is that? It's incredibly difficult. And I'm not saying go try to make heads or tails of that necessarily, but just keep in mind, like, sometimes you might be upset with something or saying that's not fun or I don't like that kind of stuff. But recognize that's perception, that's in your head, and that can change, and that's not a forever thing. And I'm not saying wait for it to change. I mean, sometimes you actively should tell yourself, like, that's not okay. I need to change that. And like, let me give you a little example, if I can. Like, there are certain things in this world that are good for you, and there are certain things in this world that are bad for you. And you recognize what those are. But you might be like, but I enjoy this bad thing, you know? And so you do it. And then you recognize it's like, I should change my perception of this because I shouldn't be doing this bad thing. Right? And that can happen. Let me give you a real life experience of this. And it's one that's more than just, it's perception, but it's also perception in a deeper way than you like are even thinking. I used to not like radishes, but everybody else enjoyed them around me. They were just popping them in their mouth, eating them, and I'm like, ew, that's so gross. But I never said it out loud because I didn't want to be the guy that didn't like a food, because I wanted to enjoy everything. Why would I be that? Why would I want to not like a food when to other people they get to enjoy it? Right? Why would I choose to not enjoy something if I had the option to enjoy it? It's like, to me, it was a no-brainer, at least with food. You know, maybe I have no desire to enjoy certain things like, I don't know, let's just say cars, automobiles, trucks, whatever. Maybe I'm just not into it. Trains, planes, whatever. It's like, maybe it doesn't affect me, you know? So it doesn't matter too much if I enjoy it or not. But if someone comes up and talks to me about cars, trains, airplanes, whatever, I can choose to be like, no, I'm not enjoying that because I don't like them, because I've already decided that I don't like those things. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a trucker, driver person. So I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to enjoy this conversation. You can pick to be that way before a conversation even begins, or when you know a conversation is coming, or as soon as it starts, and your pride will stick with it and you will never like a single thing about it. But any moment later, you can be like, you know what? No, that's stupid. Cars are just fine. They're actually incredible marvels of like handwork, and they're amazing. And if I just allow myself to enjoy it, like get interested enough to allow myself to enjoy it, I can make so much better conversation with this person that's talking to me right now. And I could not come off as a complete jerk. Instead, I can come off as someone who's engaged with them. So let's just perceive this differently. Let's not put up a, like, I don't like these kinds of things attitude. Let's put a, you know what? I'm a little curious. Yeah, tell me about it kind of attitude. And then you start that, and you just commit. You will be able to be like, holy crap, I like cars now. I thought that wasn't in my nature. Thought that's not who I was. But suddenly I'm a kind of guy who apparently likes cars a little bit. That's weird. And you can do that to yourself. Now I'm going to take it back to the food thing. The radishes. I figured out, I was like, the fact that I don't like radishes, why? Why is that a thing? My answer was, well, it's my brain that's being signaled something when it touches my taste buds and my olfactories, and it's saying, you don't like this. This tastes something and you don't like it. So it's a matter of perception. And my brain triggering the, this is not okay, you shouldn't be eating this response. But I know perfectly well that this is food. And there's no, so logically speaking, it isn't helpful that my brain distinguishes this as tastes bad because it's unhealthy or because it's bad for me, because it's not. And also, logically speaking, if I can choose between whether I should like this or dislike it, I'd rather like it so that when people put it in my food, I can enjoy it, rather than go, ew, you put radishes in my food, take it back to the kitchen, you know? So all that said, right? That went through my mind. One day while I was at a family reunion and everybody was chowing down these radishes. So I picked up a radish and I put it in my mouth and it tasted bad. And I chewed it up and I let it sit on my tongue until I couldn't taste it anymore. And I swallowed. And that tasted bad. I took another radish and I said, I'm not giving up on you. And I said to my brain, look, see, it's okay. This is okay. This food is okay. Look. And I chewed it up, tasted bad, let it sit on my tongue till I couldn't taste it. Like literally like 5, 10, 15 minutes would go by sometimes. And then I'd swallow and then I'd do it again. I'd say, brain, look, this is okay. And by the fourth radish, and of course this was the course over like an hour, but by the fourth radish, my brain was saying, this tastes fine. This is okay. It's not necessarily enjoyable, but there's nothing wrong with it. You can eat this. And then fifth radish, okay, I can now taste flavors in here that I associate with, this is kind of an interesting flavor. I kind of like this part of this flavor. I can distinguish some flavors in it. All right, sixth radish. At this point, I'm like, all right, I'm satisfied. I've had a victory. And then I call it an end for the day, right? Months go by, I finally have another radish. Okay, tastes great. No problems with it. It was a matter of perception all along. And radishes are good. I eat radishes today. I figured out that if you take a radish and you put pesto on it and you bake it, it's the most amazing salad topper you'll ever have. Okay, it's amazing. But I wouldn't have called it amazing if I never tried that. If I didn't do that little experiment with myself. If I didn't decide that it's a matter of perception. And most things are. And that I, if I want to, can choose that there's no reason to be upset. So I should just try to enjoy it, at least to the best of my ability. Now, sometimes there's logical reason to be upset at things, and that's fine. I'm just saying, if you can't get your head in the game to do something, sometimes it's just a matter of perception, and you got to flick a switch, and you got to decide whether you're going to be okay with doing it, and you're going to put down your pride and all that feeling of that's pent up, like, no, I refuse to like it. You just got to put that down, and you just got to do it. And sometimes it's a matter of perception, like, I've been trying to tell myself that it's this reward that I want, but really that's not moving you forward. It's the fear of not doing it that I want. It's still not pushing you forward, then maybe that's not your thing. Because all that is just perception. And utilize that. you can utilize that perception as a tool to move forward. And I would recommend it. I'm used to beating my head against the wall to do something. Because sometimes that's what it takes. And it never gets old. Like, yeah, it gets frustrating, but it doesn't get boring. Yes, it's frustrating sometimes to do things, but it doesn't get to a point where it's like it wasn't worth it, right? Because I'll always just keep moving forward wherever I can. And eventually I'll solve the problem. Eventually I get the task done. And I don't have to dread it. So that's I don't know. Perception. Use it. That's all I got. I think talked for a long time on this topic now. But I'm going to give it back over to Haley. Haley, do you have anything else that you want to say to wrap this up? Or
No, I think we've about covered everything.
yeah.
I guess one final thought is sometimes since I know I can struggle with motivation, when I think of something, I just make myself do it right away, which I know is hard and comes down to a lot of self-control. But sometimes, like,
Yes.
especially with like mundane tasks like laundry or dishes, like I'll be like, I need to do that. And then instead of sitting there and thinking about how I need to do that, I just make myself get up and go do it. Because if I do it then it gets done. And then if I don't, then it's just gonna keep getting put off forever.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you know,
Absolutely
sometimes it can
true.
just come down to self-control, but just trying to do things when you think of them can help a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good point. Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Myonglios, for their topic. It was beautiful, and we appreciated it. And it was a great. I think it was a great help all around. Probably more than just yourself. Yeah, brute forcing my taste buds to change, and it works. It did work. It does work. Like literally, so few people ever actually try it. I've told so many people about that, and no one's like, they're like, I would never do that. Or people will be like, yeah, I'll give that a shot, maybe, if I really wanted to like something, but why would I put myself through that just to like something? And it's like, I don't know, because then you don't have to like limit yourself, like when it comes to food, like which is something we eat every day. It's something we do every day. It's like if you could just enjoy literally everything, why not enjoy literally everything? I think that's brilliant. I think it's great. I don't know. People.
I should try that with peanut butter.
You don't like peanut
Because
butter?
no, so here's the thing. I have tried to like peanut. I have tried to like it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done that method, so I'm like maybe I should try that method. But like periodically, I'll be like maybe I'll like peanut butter now, and I'll like take something with peanut butter, and I'll be like I'm gonna like it, and then my taste buds are always like nope, it doesn't taste good, and I'm like
Yeah.
but I want to like it.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
know
it
what?
makes
Maybe.
sense, right? Like I want to like it because so many other people like it,
Hmm.
and it's yeah. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. Yeah, I just thought
So
I was like, logically, why does my brain make it taste bad? It's because it thinks it's not good for me, right? Something like that. I don't know. That's my best guess. It's like, why would my taste buds ever like react poorly to something? My get brain would tell me like something like to defend you from eating something you're not supposed to eat. And it's like, well, this is a
hmm
food, it should like it. So I don't know. That's what came to my mind, and I just stuck with it, and I followed this method up on multiple different foods since radishes, and it's worked every time for me. So yeah, just leave in your mouth till you can't taste it, and then put more in, and then leave in your mouth, can't taste it, and then put more in. Like just keep repeating, and eventually, might take a couple of times, but eventually your brain will be like, I can't really taste what you're putting in my mouth anymore, so whatever. And then eventually your brain's gonna be like, you know what? I'm starting to pick out flavors now, other than just gross. And then yeah, then your brain will be like, okay, I like this. I can see some elements to this that I like, but I can't fully like it yet. And so then and
yeah,
then just give it a while and then come back to it. And sometimes that's how it works. Sometimes it takes a couple of trials, but I've never had it not work.
sounds good. I'll have to give it a try,
Yeah, and
and
hopefully
I'll be one of the people that actually tries it.
that would be amazing because yeah, like nobody tries it. I understand some people can't because they're gag and stuff. And so
Oh.
their brain doesn't even let them begin to try. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, your bat brings me warmth and happiness. I agree, Neon Blue. That's cute. Aw,
The
that's so sweet.
bat will give hugs.
Aw, huggies. Aw, hugs. Cute. Adorable. Um,
Maybe next Don't Worry Wednesday stream, I'll just like have a jar of peanut butter.
mhm. Yeah, wow. Could you imagine? Wow, that'd be amazing. You'd be like, yeah, I like peanut butter now. That'd be amazing. Or you're like, no, I still dislike it, but I decided I wanted to do this because I will not accept anything else. Yeah, I don't know. um, yeah, smaller tasks. Yeah, Kendra, you're talking about smaller tasks, and does that help you? Breaking stuff into smaller tasks, I think it helps a lot of people for sure. I know it can help me at times too. But usually for me, I'm not usually overwhelmed with a big task because I look at everything as like, isn't everything going to be a big task? Generally speaking, everything is like, oh, I don't really want to do that. It's the same feeling for everything. So, um, yeah, I don't really, my brain doesn't distinguish too much, but I do break things up into smaller tasks just because obviously, in order to get things done, I can't do a bunch of things at once. I have to do one thing at a time, and so therefore that's one small task at a time. Yeah. But yeah, that's true. Uh-huh. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, I'll find something else in the task that brings me to another task that wasn't even part of the task originally. Yeah. Uh-huh. That happens a lot. Okay. Yeah, try not to make a huge list, just a short one for one task. Yep, agreed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. ADHD, smaller tasks doesn't help me. Yeah, maybe I have the same thing. Lots of people like the small tasks though. Should do that with radishes. You don't like radishes either. Oh, you're talking about no, the pesto with the radishes on top and then that put on a salad. Yeah, you have to bake them, so it takes a little bit of time. I would recommend like a mini oven or something. But unless you're doing a crazy ton of them, then I guess you could do a bunch at once and freeze them, and then pull them out whenever you want to put them on your salad. Just make sure they're warm. That would totally work. You can freeze pesto and you can freeze radishes, no problem. So.
I think you can freeze a lot of things.
Yeah, I know, but not everything can be frozen. Like, here's an interesting one. If you want your fish to taste good, and it's a fresh fish, don't freeze it. But if
Could you
it's
just
like,
eat it right away?
yeah, well, not just it doesn't have to be right away. You can refrigerate it for several days. But as soon as you freeze it, fish have so much water in them that when you freeze them and the water turns into a salad and expands, it destroys the protein structure and makes it lose its flavor because the protein structure that it has is associated with the taste that you enjoy on most things. Now, if it's something like breaded fish that's deep fried, kind of like it doesn't matter because it's not that type of taste that you're looking for in that type of item. But yeah, like some things you don't want to freeze because
I
you
wonder if
destroy them.
I wonder if flash freezing the fish would help because
That's a interesting question.
in my research lab, if we freeze cells, you have to freeze cells slowly or they die.
Yeah, okay.
But if we have like protein, then you want to flash freeze it because if you don't flash freeze it, then the protein can denature itself and like break down and get destroyed.
Yeah.
But if you flash freeze it, then it helps preserve the protein structure.
Right. Okay. So I know that they flash freeze blueberries and acai berries to keep
Hmm.
their antioxidants. Because if
Okay.
it's a similar thing, I think it's the exact same reason. I mean, obviously oxidation works differently, but if you freeze it over a long period of time, it doesn't. They just lose all their good properties in the time that it takes to freeze. So they flash freeze them. Um, so maybe if you flash freeze fish, it would still taste good. I don't know. It's worth trying, I guess, for someone who. Thing is, people don't know it, so they don't care. They're just like, I don't like fish; it tastes bad. And it's like, well, have you had fish that was like what kind of fish did you eat? Because it's so many different flavors, you know. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh huh. Anyways, great topic. Well, side topic. Moving on. How about we do another topic? We've got 4 options. We've got I hate learning from Wifey, who said we don't necessarily need to cover their tasks since we did a pretty good job covering some of it already. We've got How to Adult from Mianglios, Tips for Driving Instructors from Mianglios, and Resisting Negative Influences from Mianglios. Which one of those do you feel most wanting to tackle, most interested in, or most suited to tackle?
Okay, wait, can you read the list one more time?
Yeah, I hate learning, How to Adult, Tips for Driving Instructors, and Resisting Negative Influence.
I think either the I hate learning or the resisting negative influences ones could be good. I mean, they're all great topics, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I hate learning or resisting negative influence. Now, Mianglios went off. So what I'm gonna do between those two is August. I love you. You're gonna decide which of those are we doing? Which one of those is maybe more pertinent to you in your life? And August, I'm sorry for singling you out, but I love you and I trust you, and I love you.
I trust August. I'm sure August will make the best decision.
Absolutely, every time. Every time August decides on anything, it's the best decision. Yeah. August is a near perfect human being. Seriously.
Yeah.
So are you. Well,
as perfect as they can be.
Yeah, you might not be near perfect, but you're not any less than perfect, as we've thoroughly fleshed out before. Not any less than perfect.
Perfectly imperfect.
Oh. I don't think you want to say I've perfected imperfection.
No, not perfected imperfection. Just perfectly imperfect.
Okay, perfect.
So like, because we weren't created to be perfect, right?
Well, no,
like that was never the intention of our creation. We were meant to have flaws, and so we're like it's okay to have flaws, and so that's why you're perfectly imperfect because
Got it. Fair. Symphony Blue says, I hate learning came from being unable to deal with incompetent teachers. Yeah, bad teachers or bad tutorials that don't actually help. Yeah, I think that's noted in your why is transcript the word I'm coming up with? Anyways, your question, your topic.
So I have a question. I want to hear the origin of how Super Neon Blue became wifey.
Oh, we got married.
Oh, you got married?
Yeah. So she became wifey when I married her.
Oh yeah. Actually, I did know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it happened.
Yeah. I did know that. That was my bad.
We married. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
We married 2 times.
Yeah. 2 times.
Yeah. We married twice.
We could like marry you right here on stream, and then it could be 3 times.
Do that. I do. Okay, I didn't even ask yet. Will you marry me? All right, there we go. The idea has happened. It was just, I was lagged, not chat. Chat wasn't lagged. I was lagged this time. Okay, August doesn't appear to be here or
around.
Yeah, August, I was relying on you, and I'm not gonna guilt trip you. You're awesome. Okay, well, I guess we'll just do. Let's do neons. Okay, we'll do neons. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mianglios. Love you. Thank you for your answer here. Okay. Oh, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna copy, paste, put it up. Okay. I'm gonna copy and paste this over to you, so you have it. Whoop. And now I'm going to go to the topic and let everybody read it. So this is I Hate Learning from Neon Blue, aka Wifey, and it reads as follows. I hate learning. Sorry, hold on. That hate is in capitals. So I hate learning new things. It is so frustrating and upsetting to me, especially tutorials that do not help. How can I make it fun and enjoyable instead? From Super Neon Blue. Thank you, Wifey. Thank you for this topic. I believe you posted this topic again out of frustration, but also that since we needed topics a week or so ago, or a week or two ago, I meant to say. But yeah, thank you for this topic, and I appreciate it. I can reason with this one. Like, I get it. I understand. It is frustrating. Like you said, I hate learning came from being unable to deal with incompetent teachers, bad teachers, or bad tutorials that don't actually help. Yeah, we're currently trying to learn how to make a video game together. And there's a bunch of tutorials that are teaching stuff that, like, you'll do a search and then you're like, the sound of the video will be like, yes, this is probably what I'm looking for. And then you look at it and it doesn't cover what you're looking for. And then some people are like trying to teach you and they're skipping around. So like you can't see the buttons that they're pressing. And you're just like, that's frustrating. How did you do that? What menu are you in? Can you zoom out so I can see what menu you're in? Because I have no idea based on what I'm looking at because I've never been in that menu before. So that'd be great. It's like you run into all of these things and it's frustrating. So there's a lot to cover here, but yeah, we'll do our best. And August is 6 minutes behind. Oh, that's totally fine. It's okay, August. Yeah. But anyhow, yeah. So I hate learning new things. It is so frustrating and upsetting to me, especially tutorials that do not help. How can I make it fun and enjoyable instead? So, yeah, Haley, what have you got to say? Got anything to start with?
Yeah. So, first of all, I think a lot of times a love for learning comes from like curiosity and natural curiosity, you know?
Mm-hmm. Good point.
And like, because like, you know, I I do relate sometimes to the sentiment of hating to learn, but in general, I normally say I love to learn. And I've always been kind of like curious and loved to learn new things. Like when I was little, I used to like to go outside and I'd like catch insects and observe the insects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I used to like catch caterpillars, or this is not recommended. Do not try at home. But I used to catch bees in my hand. Like,
Wow.
I'd find like a bee on a dandelion, so then I'd just go and I'd cup my hands around the dandelion and the bee, and then I'd just like pick the dandelion in my hand with the bee on it.
Ooh.
And you know, I've never actually been stung, so clearly
Amazing.
I did something right. But like, but you know, and so I always loved to learn, and I would like read books and learn that way. You know, I went through a phase where I was obsessed with parrots, and then I found like books on parrots in the library and was learning about parrots. So you know, there was always like a natural curiosity that was driving me to learn. Um, so you know, I think that can like bring the desire to learn. Um, but obviously, a desire to learn and a want to learn doesn't always equate to loving learning because you know there's a difference between wanting to learn and then actually learning. And sometimes the learning process can be really frustrating and painful. Um, you know, I
Mm-hmm.
get bad tutorials as well. The new skill I was learning in my lab that I talked about, I've been really frustrated with it because when I've been trying to do it these past couple days, it just has not been going well. And I'm like, why is this not working? What is
Mm-hmm.
going wrong?
Mm-hmm.
But like I'd like look up to see if I could like find troubleshooting and there would be like absolutely nothing to guide me. And I'd go ask people that had done it before and they'd tell me to like what to do and I would try it and it just would not work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just frustrating. And I was like,
Yeah.
why isn't this working?
Oh man, I've been
And
there
like,
so many times in the last week.
yeah, it's just, it gets really frustrating. And then you want to not do it because it's just not working. And it's hard to deal with the negative emotions and feeling like it's just not going to work. Um, but you know, I think part of that comes down to perseverance and patience. You know, learning takes time. I wish that it could come fast and easy to everyone. Um, you know, maybe some people learning comes really fast and easy too. But most of us have to work to learn. Um, it's going to take effort and work. You know, sometimes it's going to be painful, and you know, there might be times during the process when you think, "I hate this. I don't want to do this." But oftentimes, if you're able to just push through a little bit longer, you'll start to see like a breakthrough, and you'll start being able to see some of the effects of your learning and see that it's actually making a difference. And
Hmm.
once you're able to see that, then it starts to open back up the excitement and curiosity, and you're like, wait, look, this is actually going well. I can actually do this. And then with that, you're able to start going back to the curiosity that drives the learning in the first place, and you're like, okay, wait. So if this is how this is, then what about this? And so then it just kind of opens up new possibilities for you. Um, and you know, it's it's hard when you know teachers are incompetent and tutorials are incompetent, especially because those would typically be your first source to turn to. And you know, if those aren't doing an adequate job of teaching you, how are you ever supposed to learn, right? Um, which you know, it can be hard, but sometimes you just have to look a little deeper for other sources. And sometimes you can actually combine sources. You can take some of the sources that seem to be incompetent and missing steps, and you can compare them to other things and see how different things compare. And sometimes those can fill in the holes for each other, you know? Maybe someone's like, you do this, and then it results in this, but they don't actually show you what they did. Um, and then another video you watch will be like, do this, but it doesn't show you what it like what the outcome is. And sometimes you can combine those, and it'll help um, fill in the gaps. And I think for me, it's always really satisfying when I'm able to understand something. That's another part that drives my desire to learn. I think is I hate not understanding things.
Hmm.
Um, so like you know, I have a natural curiosity, but then also when I don't understand things, it bothers me. And so I'm like, I always want to understand things. And sometimes getting to the understanding is really frustrating. And sometimes I want to give up. I'm like, I'm tired of this. This sucks. It's not going to work. I just want to call it quits. But there's always, anytime I feel that way, there's always the part of me that's like, okay, but can you really just give up on this? And there's something inside me that just doesn't want to give up still, even though everything else in me is like, I hate this, I want to give up. Because there's the part of me that hasn't fulfilled that understanding and curiosity. And so I still want to learn, um, even if it's painful at times. And then if I'm able to push through past the initial frustrations, um, then it can help a lot. And obviously, sometimes when you're getting frustrated, it's important to take a break because if you try to push through when you're feeling in the moment when you're feeling frustrated, sometimes you're just gonna get more and more worked up with your emotions, and it's just gonna keep going badly. But then as you get more and more emotional and frustrated, then it's sometimes that can actually make things worse. And then it just makes like a negative feedback loop where you feel like you're never going to succeed. Whereas if you find yourself starting to feel frustrated and being like, okay, this isn't working, sometimes what you can do is take a step back, take a break. You know, maybe you go get a snack or something because food makes a lot of people happy. So, you
Don't tell her that.
know.
She knows why I said that. It's not like a fat thing. It's like that's her go-to all the time, and it's more of a distraction. It doesn't help. We figured out. So
Oh, I see, I see.
yeah,
So
literally
don't get
every
a
5 minutes.
snack.
Yes, yeah. She's like,
Um,
I need something because it gets so frustrating that it's like okay, it's like it's so frustrating that every time she approaches the project, she's like, okay, I mean, I'm hungry, and she's like, why am I hungry? I didn't even start yet. I'm hungry. Oh, because my brain associates
I
this with food
see.
now. It's like something like that.
It's so
Yeah,
it's like the Pavlov situation with the dogs, where
yeah,
like they hear the bell and then
mm-hmm.
they salivate because
Yeah,
food. Yeah, I
mm-hmm.
see, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
so no snacks.
It's good. It's good recommendation, but yeah, in this
Um,
case, it's just
but
funny.
or another thing you can do is go to something that you know you're good at already, or that you already have a solid understanding of, and work on that. Because then what that does is it helps establish to yourself, look, it's not that I'm incompetent or dumb. I am capable of doing stuff. I am capable of learning. And it kind of can help build yourself back up and calm you down so that then you can go back to whatever else you were trying to learn with like a renewed mind. And sometimes that can even give you like new perspectives. Sometimes you'll be working on a problem and it's just not working, and you'll take a break and you'll come back and you'll see it in a completely different light, and you'll be like, how did I
Hmm.
not think of this before?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Um, I've definitely done that way too many times. Or, sometimes I'll go back and like I might be looking over a test question I missed or something, and I'll be like, what the heck was I thinking? Like, obviously that's not right.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm not doing it in like a negative way. I'm not being like, how could you have been so stupid? It's just kind of a like, silly Haley, you're so silly. Like, you know, you did your best in the moment, but clearly the answer is this. And then typically, if I miss a question, I actually remember the answer way better in the future because it bugs me that I missed it.
Mm, hmm,
but
hmm.
um, but yeah, so I think taking breaks is important. And obviously, if you can't just decide I'm gonna take a break because this is boring me. Like that's not necessarily the best time to take a break. It's more just like when your emotions are gonna start getting in the way. That's when it's time to take a step back and let yourself calm down, shift gears a little bit, and then come back later with a renewed perspective. Um, because if you decide to just take a break whenever you're bored, then you're never actually going to get anywhere, and then your brain just will think it's okay to take breaks whenever you're bored, and then it just will be detrimental. Like the snacks. You'll start being like, you'll like open a book and be like, okay, I'm bored now. Let's go do something else. Um, you don't want to do that. Sometimes you do have to push through a little bit with the boring stuff. Um, you know, I've read many boring scientific papers. Scientific literature can be really painful to get through. It is very dense, and because there's so much limited space to convey way too much information, it just gets really dense, and there's like no room for any filling words. Um, so it can be painful, and you definitely have to take time to digest it. Um, but you know, in the end, even if during the moment I'll be like, I'm so tired of this. Typically, once I've actually found what I'm looking for and learned stuff, I get excited about it. And then I want to go tell everyone what I learned. I'll be like, did
Mm,
you know this?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I think sharing the things you did learn is also a great way to bring passion for learning because, it's just fun to share what you learn.
Hmm.
If you learn new stuff and then never use it, then it's like, why are you learning?
Mm.
Whereas if you learn new stuff and then you go make everyone else learn that new stuff too, then you can it just kind of brings like a new joy to it. Um, you know,
Hmm.
maybe you'll take the perspective of I suffered through this learning. Now they get to suffer through this learning.
Oh no.
Um, just kidding. But or maybe it's I suffered through this learning, so now I can help them suffer less through the learning.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's probably the better approach to take than being like they shall suffer as I have suffered. Um, but
Perhaps. Yeah, that one seems a little maniacal.
but I think really just um, taking a step back when you're feeling frustrated and reminding yourself why you're trying to learn in the first place can do a lot for wanting to learn. Because I think realistically speaking, it's probably not that you hate learning because why are you trying to learn if you hate learning? Um, it's more that like the process of the learning is what is frustrating, and so that's okay. Everyone feels frustrated at times. Um, my major has been very frustrating at times. I've definitely ranted many times about my major. Um, for a while, I used to say that I would advise people to run away from the major, but you know what? I made it through I made it through the worst parts, and now I'm like, you know what? My major's actually not that bad.
Hmm.
Like, everything's okay. I'm not going to tell people to run away from the major and escape. I'm not going to tell them that it's a trap. Um, and instead, I'm able to like have a clearer perspective on it and be like, it's actually pretty good. And then I can give guidance to them on how they can do better than I did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so
Yeah.
I think um, just like remembering why you want to learn and not letting yourself get caught up too much in the emotions and the frustration do really good things for trying to learn new things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Well said. That was so much good information packed in a smooth, flowing, dense subject. That was great. That was awesome. Thank you, Haley. I'm so happy you're here and talking on it. um, you know, Wifey and I have had talks about this before to some degree. I don't think we've really exactly talked about the nature of how can I make it fun and enjoyable instead, though I think that's a really important question. It's a really good one because perspective is a lot of how we handle things, and that's something I just said recently in the other topic, but I think it's just true, and it's something that's worth touching on even in this case as well. Um, and um, you just said what helped actually was one day I put sunglasses on as a reminder to be cool, but also a nerd. And that's great. I think that doing stuff like that helps put us in a frame of mind that is helpful. And there are certain frames of minds that are not. I remember I had a certain friend group. I had two friend groups, and I noticed that I would be different in each. And that it was me who was different, not necessarily the friends. So the friends were different, of course. But like around a certain friend group, I noticed it was natural and just normal for me to act one way. And then a different friend group, it was normal and natural for me to act a different way. And I didn't find that it was, um, I didn't find any I didn't find any cognitive dissonance with it. I didn't think that I was two different people. I didn't feel like it was a bad thing. I just looked at it and be like, why did that happen? And then I said, well, it's actually pretty simple. The way I acted when I met my very first, like this specific friend group, the way I acted the very first time I met them, I remember I was in a state of mind where I was like, I'm going to choose to be really excitable and just go and meet these people and get along with them and just like have a good time and be fun and funny and just be kind of outgoing. And then I pursued that and I did that. And then from then on, for the rest of my relationship with them, which lasted like 3 years, that's how it was. It's just how it was. And that's how whenever I was around them, that's how I felt and that's who I was. And it wasn't like I had to force myself to be that way. It just was that way. And why? That's just a habit. And similarly for the other friend group I had, I was different, you know? And it's kind of the same thing, even though that friend group was built over a very long period of time. And there were minor changes over the period of the time that we knew each other, but we knew each other for like, sorry, some of them 17 years and some of them 15 years at the time. Some of them like 14 years. So it was just, yeah. Anyways, my point is, yeah, welcome back, Noah. My point is, I wouldn't say, you said, oh man, this is a habit. This habit is going to be hard to break. I wouldn't be concerned with breaking the habit. Concern yourself with something else and the habit will be broken. And what is that thing? So you asked, how do I make it fun and enjoyable instead? Well, first question, I guess. What things do you find enjoyable and fun? I think that's an important question to ask. And that's a question I've asked you before, and you've given me plenty of different answers, and that's a hard one for you. Instead, doing things, yeah. What I'll say instead is this. If you're trying to learn something, learning can be difficult. And if it's frustrating or incredibly dense and hard to chew through, it can be the bottleneck can be yourself and just the knowledge you already have. And you're like, I don't understand this book that I'm reading because I don't understand the terms that they're using because I just don't know it, and no one taught me. And so it's really difficult. But here's a game changer. For me, at least. If I have a sense of wonder, if I go, what if? Instead of asking, how come? If I ask, what if compels me to do things? Why compels me to stop? Okay? Yeah, all this talking about tutorials making me angry. Okay, so I'm gonna say this again. What if is the thing that compels me to take action and to discover? Why, the question why, compels me to stop and think. Okay? In both of them, your intention is to discover and to learn. What is learning but discovery, right? It's the same thing. It's discovery. Wonder is what drives you to discovery. Wonder is the notion that there is something to discover and you want to discover it. Similarly, there's another word. Curiosity. Curiosity. What is curiosity? Well, it basically just means careful or interest. That's how the etymology is. It comes from the Latin curiosus. But anyways, it means to be careful or to be interested. So curiosity. If you're interested in something, it leads you to act upon the interest and to discover. It means you want to discover something. So anyways, my point is, if you're getting held up because you're trying to gather information in order to move forward, that's frustrating because it feels like everything is a roadblock. Everything's just, you keep on asking why and you have to stop and think. And the next thing is why. Well, in order to answer that question, I need to stop, learn somewhere else. Then I can continue. But if it's a what if, everything changes. And what I mean by what if is this. When you ask what if about something, and maybe this is more theoretical than helpful, but if you ask what if, it's the notion of you're taking what you know and you discover with it. So it's like, what if I take 5 and times it by 10? What happens? What if I do that? Okay, well, let me just start. And then you start doing it. And then you come up with the answer. It's 50, right? But you move by notion of what if. If you move by notion of why, you have a different problem. Because it's like, you might be in a position and it's like, why do this in the first place? It's a big question to answer. Like, why times 5 by 10? Because I want to know the answer so I can solve the problem of the question. Then that's not helpful, right? It's not really emotionally helpful. So I would implore you to what if. It's like, why does 5 times 10 equal 10? It's like, okay, that's a good question. And it might give you a reason to go looking for the answer, but it's not fun. But if you what if is fun because it's like, I'm the one in control. So if you take a what if statement, it means you have tools with which you can work and you are testing them out. You are in the nature of experimentation. You are in the nature of the one in control, not the one that doesn't know. You are the one that doesn't know because you're obviously asking what if, but you recognize that you have power. The other one recognizes the power you don't have. So it's really a matter of perspective. So my point, I guess, is ultimately when you're in order to make it fun and enjoyable, you have to have a certain perspective. But if your perspective is, I don't know, that feels like you're lacking, and that's an enjoyable feeling. But if your perspective is, I have things to work with that I can manipulate and make discoveries with. Now it's what you have. It's the glass is half full rather than the glass is half empty. It's really just a perspective change. But my idea is that if you are trying to learn from tutorials because you're at a stopping place where you're like, I've gotten this far in the logic and I can't go forward anymore because I need this information from somewhere and I don't know what that information exactly looks like. I just know it exists. And so I'm reaching out into the world and I'm waiting for video after video after video or text after text line after text line for the little nugget that I need to proceed. The whole mind frame around that is, I'm stopped because I don't know this thing, because I don't have, I'm not competent enough yet, which is fine. Of course you aren't. No one is. Like, no one knows everything, but that's fine. The point is, like, your perspective around that, you've put yourself in a position where you're like, I don't have the answer, and I'm waiting until I receive it to be able to move forward. You're at a stop, and it doesn't feel good to be at a stop and to be lacking until something else gives you, like, the heads up. Okay. That doesn't feel good. It 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 sucks. Okay. So, of course, you're not going to have fun. You're not going to enjoy it. Right? So, here's what I'm thinking. Instead, it makes you feel angry. Yeah. Right. Because it's at a position where you don't have control. And so, if you don't have control over the environment, maybe you don't have control over how you feel. And so therefore you kind of just don't have control over any of it and you just feel angry and like you can't do anything about it because you're controlless, right? So my solution to that is, what if? What if has been a game changer in my life. I remember imploring what if as a strategy for like everything once I learned about it. I learned about it from a speaker who was trying to help people with their fear. Because we were working in a business, and in that business, you had to get prospects. You had to like think about the people you know, or the people you've met, or go out, and if you don't know any, go meet people in the world and get their numbers that you've never talked to before, or you've talked to rarely, whatever. And then give them a phone call and give them a proposition of, hey, would you like to join my business? Or rather, in this case, you'd be like, hey, would you like me to show you the plan for my business and that we're doing? And you can get involved. And trying to make it sound attractive, knowing that they're going to turn you down because what you're in is a pyramid scheme, everyone thinks. That's essentially what everyone's called it. And so then you have to go out and then show them the plan that you've promised, which is like showing them stuff about the business, which requires a lot of information. It's scary. It's scary to a lot of people. And so a guy did a speech from stage and he said, here's the thing. It's scary. I get it. But the reality is it's not scary. You're just doing things. And those things, yeah, they have consequences. Yeah, that's what you're afraid of. But like literally, it's not hard, and you need to get over it, the scary part. And the only way to get over it is to do it. But here's my tip for you to help you get over it. Here's my tip for you to help yourself do it. Here's my thinking strategy that helps you win. And he said, it's called wonder over fear. If you say, oh, I have to do that, that's scary, okay, you're only going to stop yourself from doing it. If you say to yourself instead, I wonder what will happen if I do this. I wonder what will happen if I do this. Some people will be like, negative and just be like, well, yeah, I wonder what will happen. Oh, I'll get beat up, Sure. But it implores it's a different way of thinking about it, because instead of dreading it and going, oh no, that's going to happen, you go, I wonder what's going to happen. It changes your mind slightly. And I think you take it the next step further and you say, what if? And that's what he continued his speech, and he said, really the main idea is what if? What if it turns out good? Feed those thoughts. Don't feed the thoughts that go, what if I don't learn? What if all the bad things happen, you know? No, instead just go, what if I could make it all the way to the top? What if? What if I interact with this person and they say, yeah, then what? Well, then what do I do? Oh gosh, okay, well then, I mean, that would be great. You know, it's like, use what ifs rather than I dread or I fear, right? Point is, I didn't make this up, but the guy gave a speech and it was really good and I learned from it. And it's all a matter of perspective. And you know that because how do I make it fun and enjoyable? Instead, you know that it's a matter of, in that line, it's inherent that you know that it's a matter of perspective. Okay, so the final thing I'm going to say on it is this. So you say, instead of getting stopped by it, it's like, oh, I want to do this, and now I'm stopped because I don't know how to continue. Because in order to continue, I need to learn this thing. And there's no one here to teach me, so I have to go out and find it myself. It's going to be difficult, and it's going to be annoying. Okay? So instead, don't do that. Okay? You have a task, and you want to complete it, and you're stopped because you don't know what to do. Instead, ask, what if I do this? And just play around. Don't go off consulting people, because then you put it in their hands to solve your problem, and you feel like you're powerless, and you feed the powerlessness feeling that you're currently experiencing. And it's not a matter of power, I know, that's not the issue, but that's where you're at. Break the game, yeah. Want me to break game? Yeah, you could break the game. It's like, what if? What if I do this? And then the game breaks, you're like, whoa, okay, don't do that. Yeah, but you don't want it to be distracted. Right, fair enough. I think that's important to be distracted. Like, sometimes. Because what does that do? It gets your head into the enjoyable element of learning how to do things. And that it doesn't have to be a bad thing. And that it can be a fun and rewarding thing. Because I know sometimes, yes, the answer is to go out and find the tutorial. Sometimes the answer is, yes, now it's time for me to learn this thing and whatever. But if you get stopped and you feel like it's frustrating, and you're at a point where you're frustrated and you didn't find the answer yet, you can just say, you know what? I'm going to stop trying to find this answer, and I'm going to try to discover something with the tools I have learned so far. Even if it's not the thing I'm after. But maybe it is. So, that's my best suggestion. And I know that it might not work, but I think it could. And if you do it enough, it will instill that feeling of like, I don't have to get frustrated when I don't have the answer. Because I've shown that I have the ability to do things and I'm not actually stopped. And I have learned things. Because sometimes I get this way too. It's like, I'm doing things by tutorial and then it's like, did I actually learn anything or am I just copy pasting everybody else's stuff? Am I actually learning from this book or am I writing the answer down to get the answer and then I don't actually remember it? Well, if you what if, you start to use those tools and you prove you've learned. You start sculpting something. You start creating with the things you've just learned. You might go like for science stuff. You might be like, hey, I just learned this about science. And it's like, but what if that thing I learned applies to this thing over here, like we did with the fish earlier? I wonder if flash freezing could potentially solve the problem of fish tasting not as good when you freeze it. It's a what if question. I don't have the answer because I don't have a flash freezer. Okay. I don't have the ability to answer that question. But it's still interesting and it's fun to talk about it because it's a what if that I can be engaged with. That I'm using knowledge that I've learned recently or over the years. And that makes it fun and engaging. And proves that I actually retain information. And it solidifies the information I've retained because it utilizes the information I learned and uses it, so therefore it actually is sustained. So my point is, when you're learning and you're getting frustrated, stop stopping at stop points where it's like, well, now I don't have enough information to continue. Okay, yeah, move forward. Oh, now I don't have enough information to continue. Okay, well, move forward a little bit again. Found the information. Okay, now I can't move forward. I need more information. Stop stopping as much. Stopping a few times is okay, but if you start to find yourself getting frustrated, you've stopped too many times for yourself. Stop stopping. Sometimes just go like, okay, what have I learned? Like, what were the things I just looked at? That. Can I make a what if statement about this that helps me move forward in any way? Well, yeah, I guess if I take this element, I can apply it over to there later. Like, I think I can get that to work. And then you do it and you're like, yeah, that's useful. It's not something I have to work on right now, but it's something I will have to have. I'll have to work on it someday. It's not useful right now, but eventually, like, that information will be useful. Or maybe it's not that useful right now. Maybe it'll never be useful, but it's reusing the things you're learning and stopping yourself. So that, to me, is a lot more enjoyable. And that's, I think, the beginning of a process of learning how to enjoy learning. Reprogramming your brain to know, like, it's not all just stops after stops after stops after stops to learn. Learning can be enjoyable, using what you've accomplished, using what you've learned, and feeling free enough to be able to use those things you learned and put them into the world in new ways that haven't been done before, or utilize them to get things done you've never been able to do before, right? And it's like you're utilizing them, and that's fun. Yeah, too many thoughts to type about this. Fair enough. We can talk about it later. We have all night. But that's my advice. That's my thought. I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but that's my thought. I'm going to give it back over to Haley and see if you've got anything you want to add to that or subtract from that. Feel free to do so because I don't know.
Yeah, I think I really liked everything that you said. And I liked when you brought up the what ifs because, you know, a lot of times I try not to dwell on what ifs too much because, like, people tend to take what ifs in the negative way.
Yeah.
But I liked when you brought the what ifs back to the positive light. I mean, whenever I'm talking to anyone who goes into the what if spirals, they'll be like, you know, like, what if this bad thing happens? Then I do often respond with, okay, well, what if this good thing happens? Because, you know, they're equally as likely, you know. Who's to say what's going to happen? We obviously don't know. So, you know, sometimes I like to avoid what ifs just because they aren't always helpful. But I do think that, like, it can be helpful to remind yourself of the positive what ifs because it can help at least give some kind of excitement and potential to what you're learning, you know, instead of then just feeling like, oh, I'm just mindlessly learning this thing. It's like, okay, what if I use this in my daily life, you know? What if this comes up in conversation later, you know? It can give new excitement and potential, which I think is really great.
Yeah. I think a really classic example real quick of like a what if. I used like 5 times 10 earlier. What if I take 5 and I times it by 10? I'm sure almost everybody has this memory. Remember having a calculator and then just taking random numbers and timesing them together or adding them together, just seeing what numbers you got, just for fun. That was a thing. That was like, this is fun. It's like 5 times that number. What did I get? Oh, okay, a 5 and a 0. Oh, that's okay. Cool. All right. So like you've gained a resource with which to work. And it's like, you don't know why 5 times 10 works, out to be a number, but you have a tool where you can do that. And it's like you discover along the way and you actually start to learn. It's like, oh, every time I times something by 10, it always ends in a 0. You're like, what's going on there? It's like, I don't know, but I'm processing that in my brain and it's learning, even though I'm just goofing around. Anyways, that's just an example of something.
Yeah.
What if related?
No, that definitely brings back good memories, though. I definitely
Yeah.
did that. Or the other thing I would do is I would try to see what words I could make with like the numbers on the
Oh, yeah,
calculator.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Like if you like flip it upside down, you could typically write like hello. Um, so that was always fun. But that's definitely a sidetrack. um, um, but I also really liked what you said about the solidifying learning. Um, I've had a lot of professors talk about strategies to help solidify our learning. Um, like sometimes I've had professors that like us to read textbook before class so that the class is our second exposure. I personally like it better when you like go to class and then read the textbook and the textbook is the second exposure, just because for me, reading the textbook before class can be really frustrating because I feel like I'm not understanding things and that I just am like it just like feels like I'm just reading a wall of text that's dense and uninteresting with no guidance of what to read. Um, but I mean, either way, like the second exposure is good to help solidify. But like, I guess that kind of ties back into like, useless teachers or useless tutorials being frustrating. Sometimes I just don't want to read the textbook because I feel like the textbook is not um, helping me. Um, but I think sometimes what can help is asking someone to learn with you. You know, you could
Yeah.
go grab Ryan and be like, "Hey, I know that you're probably not interested in learning this, but I am. Will you learn it with me?" And I'm sure he would be like, "Yes, of course, wifey. I will happily learn this with you."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes that can help a lot
Mm-hmm.
because first of all, it keeps you focused and on top and on the task. Because sometimes when we're just studying alone, it's really easy to get distracted
Mm.
and be like, "Okay, let's do this instead. This seems more exciting." Um, and so having another person there sometimes can be a good way to keep you focused because then you're like, okay, I need to actually learn this because now there's another person involved and they're going to be keeping me accountable and they're trying to learn this too, so I can't be distracting them. And also, then it allows you to open up a discussion. And I think sometimes discussing things with people is a really good way to learn. Um,
Yep. That's true.
uh, yeah, I get that looking for tutorials angers you. Um, you know, just make Ryan find the tutorials. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
I'll find your tutorials, you find
Um,
mine. Wait,
but
we've had some
but I was gonna
success
say
there.
discussing things oftentimes makes things easier. Even if you like watch a tutorial, you guys could take completely different things out of that tutorial that you just
Yeah.
watched
True.
because people's brains work differently. Maybe you watched a tutorial and you're like, this did not make sense, and Ryan might be like, this made perfect sense. Um, so then what that does is that allows you to open up a discussion and be like, okay, I didn't understand this, and he can either like explain it to you or something that I've actually appreciated a lot is when I'll have classmates helping me study for a test and they'll ask me a question and if I'm having a hard time like answering the question rather than just giving me the answer and being like it's this, they'll instead ask me other questions to try and help prompt my memory to recall things. And then if I'm still having a hard time, then sometimes they'll be like, okay, take some time to think about it and get back to me. And so then sometimes I'll have to think through my brain. Sometimes I'll like get on my laptop and start trying to like read about it again to try and remind myself. But or sometimes sometimes I just start like speaking and it'll be word vomit for a while and I'm just like trying to work through my thoughts and just having them there listening and giving like follow-up questions to like guide my thoughts can be really helpful for working through what's confusing me. And then it can help me come to a better understanding than what I had before. So whereas before it might have been frustrating and being like, I don't get how this is working, then they can be like, okay, well, explain this to me. And so then you can like start explaining it. And then it helps you identify where the weak points are in your understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're able to see where those weak points are, it helps you narrow in more on what it is that you need to actually be working on learning. Because you might feel like, I just don't understand this. But it might not be that you don't understand it at all. It might just be that there's something there that's confusing you and you're just not sure what it is that's confusing you.
Yeah, that
So
happened to
if you're
me
able to
a
like,
few times in school, and there's like a misunderstanding. It's like one foundational misunderstanding that just like led to so many other misunderstandings. Like, I don't understand why this is working or whatever. Yeah. It can
so if
happen.
you're able to like break it down a bit and like talk through it, then that can help a lot in like figuring out where you're not understanding things. And sometimes you work it out in your head just by doing that. Like you'll be confused about something, but then as you're talking through it and trying to like think through it more and force your brains to make those connections, then it actually works. And then you're able to start making new connections and start realizing things that you didn't realize before. Um, so, sometimes if you're having a really hard time, I think you should just go find a person and be like, okay, I need your help. And then you can, either they can come learn with you or you can just talk through what you know and that can help you. And even if they aren't an expert on the topic, maybe Ryan will have been working on music and have been researching something completely unrelated to music and you'll be having a hard time. He might not know what it is that you're studying, but as you explain things, he can still ask questions. And honestly, sometimes having questions from people that don't know about the topic can do really like can be a great way for you to like check your understanding of the topic because he's not likely to be asking super technical questions about that topic if he doesn't know about the topic because he's not going to have the knowledge to ask those super technical questions. Instead, what that does is first of all, it lets you check your understanding of like the basics.
Mm.
So then you can be like, teaching him that, and that's going to solidify your knowledge. And then also it'll help you like recognize any weak points you have. And also because we all think differently, it might help you find new angles you hadn't considered before. Like maybe he'll ask you a question and you'll be like, "Huh, I never actually thought about that." Um, and so then that gives you a new area that you can investigate on that topic to strengthen your understanding and learning. And honestly, I think just having another person involved can make learning way more fun
Hmm.
because, it's just nice to have another person. So I think that those can be great things to try as well.
That's great. Awesome. Well said. Brilliant. I don't really have anything else to add. I don't think I have um, anything I can add. That was great. And I hopefully it helps. Hopefully it helps Super Neon Blue or at least someone. If not, but I think I guess Super Neon Blue said that we didn't necessarily need to cover this topic today because the previous topic covered it pretty well, and it
Mm-hmm.
might have helped. So between the two topics, if you don't remember what it was in the first topic that you learned that was helpful and needing to be said, feel free to take time to re-listen to the first topic again and then the second topic again on double speed or quadruple speed if you can still make sense of my voice at that speed. Um, so yeah, um, yeah. Appreciate you being here, Haley. It's now 20 past the
Yeah.
overtime, but we started at 22 past, so I think we're fine. But yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for joining at kind of late notice. And I really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was wonderful having you. You had so much good insight and input and wisdom to share. So I'm really happy that you were here today, and that I certainly am happy that I wasn't doing this alone because you gave so many good responses. And I was really happy about that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um,
This was best Don't Worry Wednesday.
yeah.
Aw, well, thanks. I
Yeah.
think everyone Don't Worry Wednesday is best Don't Worry Wednesday.
Fair enough.
Mm.
I wouldn't disagree. Yeah. Although I think sometimes we have Don't Worry Wednesdays that I'm like, that was one of my favorites just because like all of the stuff we hit on is like probably more philosophical and or um what's the word? Um um wow. brain is gone. Psychological. There we go. Philosophical, psychological, or theological. And if it's those three in a single Don't Worry Wednesday, or it's a really intense thing, I don't know. I tend to like those, but that doesn't mean that they were any better than the other ones. It just means that we're talking about things that I'm interested in. So that doesn't. Yeah, that's not really a significant decider. But anyways, yeah. This was great. Thank you so much again, Haley. You are lovely and amazing, and I really, really appreciate you. And you did a great job. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm always happy to be here.
Yeah. And thank you everybody in chat for putting info in helping out. And also for submitting topics. Mianglios, you are a rock star for doing that. I hope that you all have an awesome weekend and week, and then weekend, and then a week, and then a week, and then a weekend. In any order you want. Just put those orders however makes sense to you in your life and schedule and reality. And then and during those times that you come by and stop in every once in a while at a Don't Worry Wednesday. And then we'll see you then. That was my outro. Do you have anything you want to say?
All of you guys are amazing, and if you think otherwise,
shut up.
My self-love stick will have a talking with you.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think you want to meet the self-love stick. It very much loves to force self-love into you. So, you just got to accept that you're amazing and that we love you all. And so, you know what? If you ever feel like no one loves you, just remember this. Ryan and I, we love you. So you can no longer say that no one loves you.
That's
You're
true.
very much loved.
Yeah, that's true.
So you guys are amazing. We appreciate that you guys are here. We couldn't do the show without you guys. If we had no chat and no topics, there wouldn't be a Don't Worry Wednesday.
There would, it'd be weird.
So, you guys are just as important to this show as we are. But yeah,
absolutely
thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you guys. We love you. Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
Great day. Great rest of your night. Sleep well. Bye-bye.